Hello. अच्छे से
So why, you know what I would appreciate, Shishma, we didn't have enough time. Can you set
Welcome back, everyone. Once we settle, we can start the session. Next, we have a very interesting session lined up for us. To introduce this session, I'd request our President and Director, Dr. Shailendra Raj Mehta, to kindly do the honors. So please.
So welcome back. The session that we have coming up is one that I was particularly looking forward to. And the reason is very simple. It's always fun to hear about people from their personal point of view, right? What is it? Because obviously the journey that legends of marketing, or indeed scholars, or indeed eminent people in whatever domain, the journey that they have taken looks one way from the outside, but very often may look very differently from the inside. And if you are to have a proper perspective on how individuals make progress in life and how they accomplish wonderful things, I think it's important to have both the inside as well as the outside view. Now, the outside view of the legend that we are going to focus on, and by the way, in a minute I will ask Professor Jagdish Sheth to come and explain to us why he chose Professor V. Kumar as the legend of marketing that he will be having a conversation with. And before that, Professor V. Kumar will talk about his journey. But before I do that, let me briefly mention, so to speak, a little bit of what we know from the outside. I say a little bit because we could spend a lot of time going through his accomplishments, which are huge. And I was just told that the version that we have is a little bit out of date, and that in the short period of time that has elapsed since then, he has published a couple of more books and papers, which reminds me of the old story about one of the most prolific writers in the history of science and also in the history of popularization of science, which was Isaac Asimov. So the story goes, I'm told it's almost true, that somebody calls up Isaac Asimov and says, I want to speak to Professor Asimov. His wife is on the line and he says, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but he's writing a book. So he can't come to the phone right now. So he says, that's okay, I'll wait. So anyway, it's not that, so he was producing books and papers, and I must add of the highest quality at Columbia University, with such rapidity that, in fact, people were forgiven for believing that he could do it effortlessly and in no time. So our legend of marketing, Professor V. Kumar, is the Regents Professor and Richard and Susan Lenny Distinguished Chair Professor of Marketing and the Executive Director of the Center for Excellence in Brand and Customer Management at the J. Mac Robinson College of Business at Georgia State University. He has a number of other appointments that I won't go through in various parts of the world. He has had the privilege and the honor of being named the editor-in-chief of the #1 journal in marketing, which is the Journal of Marketing, and the associate and associate editor and other positions in many other, with many other distinguished journals in the field. He has published over 300 articles. This is the number that I updated, in many scholarly and premier marketing journals, including the Journal of Marketing, Journal of Marketing Research, Marketing Science, Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science, Journal of Retailing, International Journal of Forecasting, International Journal of Research and Marketing, and many others. He has won several awards for his research and publications, including the Don Lehman Award 6 times, the MSI Paul H. Root Award 3 times, and many, many others. So we are going to be hearing from him about his life journey. So may I first ask Professor Sheth, Professor Jagdish Sheth, to come and share with us his point of view about why they chose Professor Kumar as the legend of marketing. So a big hand for Professor Sheth.
Let me give about 1 minute of background of Legends in Marketing series. It came with the idea that we have so much of knowledge accumulated in the past that is not curated, codified around a given individual. And typically an individual who has contributed over 4 decades or 5 decades have written quite a lot over time in different areas. And can we somehow create more like an encyclopedia? Can I put this one down so I can see Russ Klein and Brittany? That was the idea. It's very hard to get those things published nowadays. And I was very fortunate to motivate Sage Publications out of India, not out of US, who were willing to take the risk because these volumes don't sell large quantities. They are primarily meant for libraries as opposed to individuals. And Sage was very receptive. It's a lot of work involved, but by the legend himself or herself, very key because we motivate the legend to say, if you are willing to step up to the work, you must first classify your work. Don't include everything that you have written. Probably it's not possible to publish more than 15 volumes or whatever it turns out to be, and do it in a systematic way. And the idea is a lot more interesting. These are living legends, which means they are living alive. One can feel, see, touch them, who they are, and still people who know quite a lot about them don't know the historical journey they went through. There are 3 very unique aspects of these legends. For each volume, we select a volume editor who is either a colleague or a former student. And in each volume, there are at least 3, maybe 2 commentators who were influenced in that volume's work by the legend's thinking at that time, whatever it was. And then therefore, they make a comment about how that specific area impacted their career, who are well-known scholars. But the most unique part of the Legend series is that each volume editor asks questions by email about what they think today, same topic that they might have done research 40, 50 years ago. And that's how the journey began. So Legends in Marketing has now about 14 scholars who have been codified properly. It's a permanent record, pretty much, accessible. Legends themselves have never thought of organizing their work, so it has been very gratifying. In fact, I must tell you, every legend that we have selected has been very grateful that we pushed them to get this thing done. The reason why it became an important in my mind and we lost, there were a couple of great legends that we did not do it in time. The one that I missed quite a lot was my own mentor, John Howard. We have captured these legends, living legends, on a videotapes, quite a few, as a part of the Sheth Foundation activity, but not their writings. And these writings are seminal pieces of thought or research, empirical research, whatever they have done. That was the idea, right, pretty much. And they're really quite impactful. In that process, the names have come up. There's a limit of how many one could include. We have started a second series called Legends in Consumer Behavior, and we have identified 6 scholars. The 6th one is just going through the process. One of the other person I missed was Paul Green. How many of you know Paul Green as a name? Giant in his field. By the time he agreed to be going through the process, by the time we could get into that one, he lost his memory. The typical dementia problems. If we did get it done, the only posthumous, after somebody has passed away, volume was created because his great colleague and a mentee called Yoram Wind or Jerry Wind at Wharton said, I will do the work. Arun Jain, who passed away unfortunately, was one of his students. He was willing to do. There are all kinds of interesting stories behind this one. And my personal gratification is I interview them for at least hour and a half by telephone about their background. So my introduction is more about that human side of the story. Every one of them has fascinating story. Interestingly, most of them have gone through pretty humble beginnings, and they've risen to the occasion, which is a great excitement also. Quite a few have been born to immigrant families in America. They came from Eastern European countries or Russia, for example. There's fascinating stories behind. In the process, there came a strange name called V. Kumar. V. Kumar does not deserve to be a legend, but he became a legend because he's too young. That was the key problem. He's too young. We have so many other legends in the sequence, and so the debate was, should we do it later sometime? Then the issue arose that the speed with which he publishes in top journals. We said waiting it out makes no sense because it'll be one more volume to be added, and there's a limit of number of volumes. So the small committee that decides basically said, let's get it done now, with the expectation that in about a decade we'll have another set of volumes by the same individual, only living legend who will have two sets of volumes, right, pretty much, which is V. Kumar, the way he has gone. I must tell you that in many ways, for people of my age, the legacy in marketing is absolutely of Indian origin scholars, whether it's Ajay Kohli, there are quite a few other names, Vithala Rao just goes on and on, Rajan Vardarajan, I mean, they're just legends in their own right. It's very interesting to watch how much Indian scholars have made impact in the discipline, and VK is in that category. It's absolutely a joy to in fact put those volumes together. You can't keep up with him. I finally tried to figure out why this is the case. I asked VK who he was in the previous life. Remember, India, we believe in reincarnation. Yeah, you know, I just wanted to know because it looks like he must be some extraordinary person with good conduct or behavior. So he's, you know, getting the benefits in this carnation essentially. And it turns out that he was actually Mahatma Gandhi. Who did extraordinary job for the nation, and it's the same kind of a category. He really believes in that stuff, which is good in many ways. But again, very humble beginnings. Good foundation in terms of basic disciplines. As Bob Leon, his mentor, really will tell him, like what I mentioned, all of us have good ingredients behind. There is always some mentor. If you are rough diamond, somebody will polish, and that's VK's story. And I finally tried to figure out what is it makes him tick. Does he sleep at all or not? Exactly. I know Renu, his wife, pretty well. We chat quite a lot about him as a human being and what does he do. He's just obsessed with just creating extraordinary scholarship in any discipline that he wants to touch. Customer lifetime value, for him, he is very well known, but he has invented on that. Like lifetime value of a salesperson. That's very innovative thought. He has designed a theory of finance, which is very unique. I had a chance to review, I don't know whether it's published or not, which is interesting. So I finally figured out what's the secret. He does not want to share the secret. He says it's more secret than Coca-Cola formula in Atlanta. So I finally figured out, I think what he did was to really understand as an engineer the whole biological sciences. And he somehow figured out how to clone himself, okay? So I think there's no one V. Kumar. There are about 3 V. Kumars is my view primarily. Otherwise it's impossible to do it, you know. But I do want to mention that before the time is over, there will be another whole series of volumes Sage hopefully will publish for the same individual, which is extraordinary feat. His impact on the discipline, especially impact on younger scholars, is mind-boggling. He's like a rock star of academic world. Groupies find him somehow, and they follow him, which is a great sign of a great scholar. So with all that, VK, congratulations on being selected as legend in marketing. It's my pleasure to introduce his real mentor, who has nurtured him, handheld him through all his ups and downs in his life, and that is Robert Leon, or Bob Leon as we call him. We go a long way, 45 years or more even, and it's again very interesting, very humble, modest person who has always done well for his colleagues or his students. He's behind the scenes person, and again that modesty speaks highly about the individual. So I would like to have Bob Leon, who really knows VK and his personal side, to come and make some comments. Bob?
Is this on? Yes. Thank you, Jack, very much. VK, thanks for inviting me to do this. If Jack wasn't here, I'd actually think the only reason I'm doing this is because they needed some eye candy. But with Jack here, he gets younger every year, so I know that that's not why I'm here. I'm actually here because I probably know VK about as well as anyone. I've had a front row seat for his journey, and I'll tell all the students that are here that you're getting ready to take an exciting trip, and I hope you enjoy every aspect of it. And just like any road trip that you take, you're going to have a flat tire. Hopefully you won't run out of gas. You'll get lost and make a wrong turn. But in doing that, you might find something more interesting than what you thought you were looking for when you make that wrong turn. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about VK's road trip. I met VK at the University of Texas. Just a bit about myself. I, from an early age, wanted to be at the University of Texas. And I worked really hard to be at the University of Texas. Not as a faculty member, though. I grew up in Texas, and if you know anything about Texas, most men, young boys in Texas, grow up wanting to do one thing. Play football. I wanted to play football at the University of Texas. And to be a Longhorn, yeah? So I apologize that the Longhorns happened to beat Georgia this last week, but... No, I'm a Longhorn. Oh, you're a Longhorn too, so. But things didn't work out. I actually went there. My freshman year, I had a back injury, so my days of playing football were over, but I did end up there, right? I did end up there as a professor. And as I said, that's where I met VK. VK, when I first met him, was very green. Knew all the numbers, was ready to work, knew all the mathematics and everything like that, but was, again, kind of unmolded clay. And we talked, and we discussed what his goals and objectives were, and we also got to know each other as people. And again, the students that are in here, please try to get to know the professors you work with, and if you end up with a mentor, get to know them, and don't be afraid to share personal stories about yourself, hardships, whatever. VK shared with me one of the first times I met him about how his uncle had actually sold his motor scooter, which was primary mode of transportation for the household, because he was living with his mom and dad, VK's mom and dad, to get the airline ticket and the money to get VK to Texas to start the PhD program. So that was one of the first things I knew about VK, is that he came from a family that had unbelievable values about education, and they were willing to sacrifice. Shortly after he showed up, I met his mom, who made a trip to Austin, who walked up to me, looked me in the eye, and said, "Bob, you have to promise me you're going to take care of my son." Knowing the backstory about the family, this was what ended up to be kind of a lifetime commitment on my part. You know, I held his daughter when she was born while he was in the PhD program, helped him buy a car seat at one point in time, you know, baby material and stuff. So all that's going on, why what? While he's earning his PhD. And while we're working together, he's working together with an unbelievable group of colleagues I had at Texas. Raj Srivastava, I think you mentioned, currently the dean at ISB, was at Emory, colleague of Jag's. Ajay Kohli, he was on the faculty at the same time. Roland Rust was on the faculty with us at the same time. Jim Anderson, Wayne Hoyer, pretty incredible group of young faculty there at the same time. BK benefited from all of them, every one of them, not just me, every one of them. He understands consumer behavior because of Wayne, right? He understands structural modeling because of Jim Anderson. He understands managerial relevance because of Raj and Ajay Kohli, right? So all those individuals had their hands on that unmolded clay, right? And this is what we end up with. This is what we end up with. But he's had a long road. When he graduated with his PhD, if you look at his vita, you'll see this. The first place he went was the University of Iowa, all right? Perfect place for him because Jerry Eskin and Penny Barron, two faculty members there, had just formed this small little company called IRI to collect scanner data, to be the electron microscope for marketers, and to compete against A.C. Nielsen. I'm sure you know who IRI is. He was there at the ground floor. While they were just beginning to collect the data, he had access to the data, which meant we had access to the data. So we beat it to death. And literally, it was our electron microscope to look at behavior, what was happening. It was the first time you could look at what happens if something's on promotion. What happens if you change prices, right? We actually saw the movement of the data. So things are humming along and life is good. He's now got a second daughter, right? But suddenly, you know what happens? The flat tire. What was the flat tire in this case? Hard to believe. He was at Iowa. Iowa's known for farming. And what do they farm? Corn. He's allergic to corn dust.
No.
So every year when they started plowing down, or what do you call those big, what it? Harvesting, yeah. The corn, it creates dust like crazy. He would get deathly ill. Deathly ill, couldn't even work for months. Couldn't work for months. So things are going great. What do you do? When he calls me and says, I don't know what to do, you know, but I can't stay here, I can't do this. About a week after he calls, I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen. It's not during the open market, so to speak, for jobs. A guy named Ed Blair at the University of Houston calls me. Says, Bob, damn, one of our faculty members just told us that they're leaving next year. We got an open position, we need to find somebody. I said, I have somebody I think you can talk to. I think he's great. He was a student here. You might have talked to him when he finished. I think you got a chance to get him. Lo and behold, the flat tire at Iowa ends up being a job at Houston, right? Houston's in Texas, which also meant what? He's close to me again. So we're working together, keeping our engines running, keeping our work going. He moves through the process there, gets bigger and bigger in terms of his accomplishments and his work, and at the same time started working with new people there that opened up doors about managerial relevance, right? And new things that he could pursue. He leaves there, starts a center at UConn. That was his next stop. What did he do at UConn with that center? He continued to mentor PhD students in larger quantities than he had at Houston. He loves to mentor PhD students, as Jack said. He spends a lot of time and he's unselfish in doing that. He's now at GSU, where he's got a center that's on steroids. If you've seen his place, if you go visit his shop, it's like a university on one floor. He's got 8 to 10 PhD students working. He's got a computer scientist and a programmer that does work for them. And what are they doing? They're co-producing some of the best research that's published in our journals. He guides them. He's their Sherpa. He's molding their clay. And what happens with them? They stay connected, and he's become what some refer to as the Johnny Appleseed of PhDs in marketing. His students are all over, not the US, all over the world in terms of what they are doing and what they're accomplishing. So is there just one V. Kumar? Are there 3? Are there 4? I've only met one, and I've been around enough. I think I know his birthmarks. I think I know his mannerisms. His wife has guaranteed me that there's only one. About 4 years ago, I had the privilege of visiting his family at their home in Chennai and spending almost a week with his mom and dad and uncle, and actually meeting his wife's parents who were there too. They swear there's only one of them, right? Because they corralled him and had him on hold, and they say not another one's shown up at a different place while they're there. So I think there's only one. But I think it is the hard work and the love of the job. And again, those of you that are students here, you better love what you're doing. Because if you don't love what you're doing, Rajan and Parsu and others will tell you, Gary will tell you the same thing, you'll feel like you're working on a rock pile at a prison, breaking big rocks into small rocks day after day if you don't love it. So make sure you love what you're doing, and whatever area you go into you love. He clearly loves what he's doing. That's why he doesn't sleep. That's why sometimes he probably forgets to eat. He loves it. The Legend is a big award. I'll close by making a little announcement, so to speak. But another recent award was established by the AMA in VK's name. It's the V. Kumar Award. It's an award that's going to be given every 2 years to an individual who has contributed to the marketing discipline, both with respect to their research, but also in terms of educating, working, mentoring PhD students, whether they're your own PhD students or whether they're coming unselfishly to event after event like this, year after year, or even within years. He teaches seminars at Emory. He teaches seminars at Georgia Tech, right? He travels around trying to help everybody be better. So this award will be given for the first time at the Winter AMA, which coincidentally is being held in Austin, Texas in February. So he's gone full circle the way I see it. He started at Texas, got his PhD, and now he's going to be recognized, and actually he's recognized in that the award's in his name, but the true recognition will be the individual receiving the award who has accomplished similar things as VK has accomplished, and again, like the Legends, has a little bit more on him in terms of age, but the mileage, there's no comparison. My dad used to always tell me whenever we looked at cars, it's not the age of the cars, it's the mileage on the car that you have to pay attention to. It's not his age. This guy's turned his odometer at least a half a dozen times since I've known him, and he's probably going to turn over 1 million miles at some point in time on the ground, not in the air, all right? So that's my observations about VK. I probably went on too long, but now I'll let him tell you from his side how he's received things, okay? Thank you.
Well, I'm in tears, like with both Jag and Bob talking about it, but I made a small presentation, if you can bear with me, so. As they are plugging me in, it's already there. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to the story, but the story is not complete until I finish it, only because they made it sound that I did it or something. It can never happen that way. I was the most, I feel till today and even in the future I will, most blessed guy, because life, if you look at the principles, the topic I put here is to show to you my global journey and the mentorship, why I adopted this philosophy. So I always think that we are born with two things, existence and opportunity. You're here for a purpose. What is that purpose? We need to discover what is our talent, and if you have anything, how to build it if you don't have it, and what is that opportunity? It always comes in the form of more work, hard work. Either you take it or not. I go to my students and say, here is another data set that has come to us. You want to work on this? Oh my God, I got to give up my weekend for that. That's one way to respond. Other way is that I will make sure that I make the best use of it. So opportunities keep coming to you. I say keeps coming to you, but for many, they would say rarely they get opportunities. But when you get opportunities, you really need to grab it. And when you grab it, you face a lot of challenges. How do you overcome those challenges? Because you may not have the right skill set, you may not be able to find the right time, and so on. You have the challenges. And finally, my third principle is pay it forward. This I tell every day to my students. Whatever you get benefit out of learning from me, you need to do the same thing to your students, because that's what my mentors did to me. Pay it forward. So, given this background, if you look at the global journey that I took, it is just not one area, because the opportunities kept coming in multiple areas. Scanner data first with the CPG. Then in B2B, I had Tim Bowling, who I know for almost now 20 years. He was my MBA student in 1992 at the University of Houston. And then he became an executive in multiple companies, then leading IBM into marketing. 17 years we worked with him in marketing in IBM and published over 10 papers with him. And co-authoring with IBM stuff. And then he got his executive doctorate with me at Georgia State. Again, he became my student, and so on. So multiple areas, just not one. So if you look at what I started at Iowa first, in terms of the timeline till now, continue to work in developing new methods in marketing research and retailing and forecasting and so on. Then at Houston, I started again with applying this, because there are a lot of possibilities with the B2B companies there. Then international marketing strategy and retailing at the market and firm level, because you can do it at multiple levels here. And then at UConn, I started this journey of CRM, because at the ING Center for Financial Services, there's a lot of data all the financial service companies poured in, and we had syndicated data across companies. So what do we do with that? And then B2B and CRM. And today at GSU, we also started with engagement, new age technologies, Salesforce management, and innovation also is another major area that we do. But you don't see an end of everything. See, work adds up. So that is what keeps me driving. I go to a class to teach. I go to this class again to teach. You give me the same course, but it'll be different content. The way I do it also will be different, because I like to learn and do it different ways. So these are the areas, and this is what Jag was mentioning, that each one was a volume. I think the first 10, it stops with CRM, and then we had like 4 or 5 more new areas that we have developed. And this is the journey that I took. But how was this made possible? So I thought a lot about it, what it takes to advance the field. There are 10 things that I, till date, followed. First is ethics and integrity. It's too easy to take shortcuts in our field. You do the analysis, it's not significant, okay, let's put a star and make it significant. But it won't last, you'll get caught. That's not the reason why you should follow ethics and integrity. But we are saying that right from childhood, like you need to adopt this, that do the right thing, always. And that really was enforced to me by Bob. There in the sense, always hours and hours of work, but always do the right thing, always do the right thing, always do the right thing. And that is something very significant. I have screamed at this guy. I wasn't selected for the doctoral consortium, such a prestigious thing. All of you are attending. In my 3rd year there, I was supposed to go, I was not selected. I screamed at him, how can you do this? You don't support me, this and that and all. He took all the beating from me and said, wait, be patient. The next year I got selected. And it was at Northwestern University, and I met so many people, and it changed the whole thing. So it's always good to be patient. Good things will come to you at the right time. So just believe in yourself that what you do, ethics and integrity, and this actually has given me so many opportunities to do as I do research, and then being an editor, getting this editor's job is no joke. You really need to walk on water to be selected as an editor, because this is the most important task the field enters on you. And I was fortunate to be one among, there are so many editors here who have done their job, done their duties. Bob, Dave, Rajan, Parsu, all of them are here, and if I missed anybody else's name, forgive me please. So that is something that's given to you, great. And inspiration, you need to actually follow. Like I was looking for inspiration, like what do I do? Where do I get these ideas? Constantly that inspiration is necessary. Service orientation. As I learn who else I can make a part of my journey. Never travel alone. So this is something very, very important. As Bob was mentioning, I was the only PhD student at UT Austin who published with every faculty member before I graduated. I mean, this is something that I took it upon myself. I want to learn because each one is different. It could be conference proceeding publication. At that time, it was really value, or it could be some junk. But the idea was that to learn, you need to really have the service orientation. The decision making is another thing. You don't have to be quick, but at the same time, opportunities last only for a few hours, few seconds. You need to really grab it. And so decision making, I was pretty fast. And coping with hardships. If only I start speaking about the hardships I faced in life, right from my PhD days. Bob was mentioning, I went there, I was married, and I was 22 years old, doing my PhD, starting my PhD, and my daughter was born, and there's no money. There's no money to buy even milk and eggs for the family and nothing. So I was on government program. And then I needed more money to buy things, vegetables and all. So Bob said, I'll give you some additional work, and he gave. But then I needed to take my daughter to the doctors and all. I needed a car. So what Bob and Raj did was something no professor has done for their student. They signed, I wanted a loan, they signed as collateral. If VK doesn't pay, I was not known as VK. If Kumar doesn't pay, we will pay the loan, but give him the $5,000. And this is like my second year PhD student. And they gave, I bought a car, so I was able to support my family with additional money, and then I bought a ticket for my mom to come visit, and that's where they met everybody, and then timeliness and planning. This is something I mean, people working with me know that. If they say, I say, you need to deliver X PM, Y PM, that's it, you need to deliver on this date. This is something I still follow. And then perseverance. Even today I got a rejection from a major journal, one of the AMA journals, an article. But that is life. So do I sit and cry today and then spoil this whole day? Or I see, this is one time I really want to agree with Jack. The reviewers were really wrong, Jack. So I said, so my two co-authored students, I wrote an email which I'm willing to share with each of you, a motivating email to them so that they don't suck. What is that happened in this process? The decision letter clearly says this is the most important topic. We need to learn more about it. But you're doing too many things here. You need to really distill it down to what you really want to show in this paper. Just focus on that and submit it as a new paper, like a rejected resubmit. But I just want you to know rejection is common for all of us. Everybody, nobody is immune to this. Everybody will get rejection constantly. How we deal with this perseverance is something that's very critical. And to overcome this perseverance, you need this passion, fire in the belly. Why do I jump up and down if I get an article accepted even today? We celebrate in our center. That is passion. You need to have that fire going on. And then finally, family foundation. My family is unbelievable. I'm blessed today. I'm standing here. My dad, my mom, still there helping me. My mom still calls me a baby. So that's the way it is. And my wife is phenomenal, very unselfish. And she has got almost equal number of publications as me because her name is there in every one of my publications. She's a master's in English literature and she is a tremendous copy editor and she does a great job. So her name is always there. So family foundation, I'm blessed with 2 daughters and something else also I'll say, I have 3 grandkids just recently. So all of those are something that I'm proud of. So I'm being dragged into multiple responsibilities. But I started my journey in 5 minutes I'll finish it and then there are Q&A. Started my journey in IIT Madras. I know Rajan doesn't want to take the credit. I will not force him to take the credit, but I asked him which school should I go. He came to give a talk at IIT Madras when I was there and he said, you're quantitatively inclined, go to UT Austin. So I applied, I went there, I was fortunate to get admitted. But then at the same time, Kotler also came to India and said that you need to do PhD in marketing. I was an engineer, so you need to do PhD in marketing. So my inspiration is let's put his quote now, it is not what you want to sell, trying to dispose of anything, it's the art of creating value. Today, me and him, and Jack also joins a few times, we travel together worldwide and speak to different executives. This is the blessing that I got, in terms of what it is. And if you look at the direction, like who admitted me into the PhD program, Bob actually said I should not be admitted. He didn't say that detail here. He said, well, his GMAT scores are not that great, although I had 99 percentile in math. English was a little weaker, not 99, but a little less than that. He said no. But this guy said no, he's from IIT Madras. So I vouched for it, and he admitted. And then came this guy. So what roles he played is unbelievable number of roles. Best friend, mentor, philosopher, guide, advocate, advisor, confidence supporter, anything you say. I mean, any problem I have, I call him first. Not parents, not wife, anybody, just call him. If you have an advisor like that, you got it made. Really, I'm saying, I try to be one like that, but I tell my students also, it's a two-way relationship always. He is like that to me, I am like that to him. So it has to take 2 people to form a bonding. And I tell my students that, it's easy for me to lend hands to you, but you have to also accept it and do this. And in terms of the guidance, Bob was mentioning these are the stalwarts there who taught me, you know, Maharaj and Rohit. Each one is great in their area. And the adopters, as an assistant professor, I was adopted by 2 legends in marketing. You know, this is phenomenal. This guy, Dave Walker, the guru in branding, George Day, guru of strategy. They came to me and said, you know, I have a marketing research textbook. I want you to take it and start writing it, you know, rewrite the whole thing. In 1994 or so, we released the book, and now it is Kumar, Leon, Walker, and Day. 4 of us are there, and it's like 13th or 14th edition going strong. And this guy believed in me. Now look at the catalyst. Here's where Jag comes and says that you can do it. You know, he always points that out, that you're too young to be anybody, but we make an exception for you. And that is very kind of you, Jag, that it just motivates me more to prove that I am worthy of it. You know, so that is a pressure that is built in. And then Lee McAllister is another major source in Austin, because wherever she goes, she would talk about the pride of Austin and its VK. And so till date, she's been very strong supporter. And if you look at the collaborators, I have the current doctoral students, business executives, colleagues in the US, colleagues worldwide, and I have 120 co-authors so far, out of which maybe 40 of them are steady, but 80 of them are somebody that through thought leadership you learned and worked with them. These are my 28 doctoral graduate students so far, and they're all like different countries, different origins. They work somewhere else, in some 3 or 4 of them in industry. It's just a phenomenal group of people who themselves are shining stars. And these are the current doctoral students. 2 of them are here. Ankit is here and Divya is here. So you have, you know, and then I also mentor 1 in ISB. So this is sort of the current doctoral students. And this is our center team. And these are pictures taken at different time points. And you just see the smiling face. So it's always a happy bunch, because we provide everything in the center, from food to snacks to bed to everything, like, you know, so everything is provided for them.
Including baby care.
Yeah, baby care too, yes, yeah. So everything is provided. So we are a happy bunch of people doing things. And then I cannot go without saying these 3 people. My president, Mark Becker, my provost, Risa Palm, and my dean, Richard Phillips. They're unbelievable source of support now. I mean, it's like they give full freedom, go and do whatever you want. So they have been, like, last 10 years, been very supportive, because you know, the media hounds you and these people protect you. And so this is where I say, and would like to, you know, one last slide is there, but that's a thank you slide. But this is what I say, family where life begins and love never ends. And that is something that I hold on to that so strongly. And then friends make the world beautiful. I'm fortunate to have great friends. Yes, when you are trying to do a lot of things, people will be at you, trying to pull you down. But that is in everybody's life. It's not unique to any one individual. That's where perseverance and hardship comes. And this is the way I would like to conclude. The journey continues. And this is me. And I still feel the same age, because I still feel the mileage continue. Thank you so much. Any last questions? So I think the plan was to have, if anybody has any questions, Q&A, I'm supposed to answer. You know, and if anything you have to ask that was not clarified. So. Yes, sir. Okay, so the question is, where do I get ideas? So this is where the center structure helps. Like the center We bring in on a weekly basis a CEO, CMO, at least one CEO, CMO will come to the center, meet with the students and make their presentation, what is bothering them in the company. And our student body will listen, and some of them will say, I want to be part of this research project, and then they will venture into that. And then we make a proposal to the company. They give us the data, they give us the guarantee that they'll implement it, and sometimes they'll insist they will co-author with us. We gladly accept that. Sometimes they'll say you cannot say the company name. We also accept that. So the bottom line is the company implements whatever we build. That is the binding rule that we have here. Of course, for conceptual papers, we can't do that. But the ideas come from, like, we have variety of industries, 17 industries data across all problem solving. Like, for example, just because you said Divya is here, she is solving problems, new age technologies, and the digital strategy that I explained to you, she is the core architect of the project. You know, I was talking as if I was taking credit for it, but she's the core architect in terms of looking at the messages, mapping it on, and working on it, and I work with her as a co-author. But that is what it is. And Ankit is here. He's working on something very new. I mean, you all see the stock market going down. Why? Because it said, like, Apple missed the earnings. But there is another thing that went on. There was a marketing metric also reported, which is that number of units sold was less than what was expected. We call it a marketing metric. He is focusing on what is the influence of marketing metric on share price. Never has been done. Only financial deviation. He is bringing marketing deviation also and showing how much of it accounts for. Although EPS goes higher in Netflix, they lost 1 million customers. So the finance guys would say, I beat the market estimate, so the share price should go up. But the marketing metric says they lost 1 million customers, the prices go down. But the finance guys would say, I don't know why it went this way. He's able to explain that. So this is the way the ideas come, that we look at it and get excited about it. Every day I come and talk to them about new ideas. What I saw that day in television, in news, what I read, I share with them every day. And they pick on it and then pursue with this. But I want to close this also by saying that there are so many people here. They are the reason. How I started my customer lifetime value journey. Without Dave Stewart, there is no CLB for me. He was the JM editor who accepted the paper on my first paper on customer lifetime, on the profitability of customer lifetime duration. These are the people who gave the break. Till date, they were very thankful to you for what you saw in the paper, and it won the Don Lemon Award, Paul Rodot, so many things that had happened downstream, but at that time for editors to recognize. Rajan was very instrumental in guiding and reshaping all of those as JM editor. Of course, Bob was JM editor. He never accepted any of my paper. But that is the way life goes on. That it comes to you so much. And one question people ask me is that, where do you get your energy from? And I give this answer. They don't believe it, but I'm telling you, if you want to believe it, believe it. Because I strongly believe it. I mean, this is the way I can take it. I tell my brain, enough sleep is enough. That's all. 3 hours sleep is enough. That's it. I tell myself, I'm fine. I'm not tired. I'm not tired. They laugh it out, but this is the truth. That you really can control your mind and draw the energy. Last but not the least, there is zero negativity you should keep within yourself. They know me. I have zero negativity, grudge, revenge, nothing, zero. No, don't keep anything negative inside you. Always you have positive energy. You can keep drawing from that. You know, never have this grudge or anything. It's not worth it in this field. You know, so this is the way you follow. And I hope you will see me for the next 30 years at least, you know, working hard like this, and that is my dream too. Thank you, sir.
request Dr. Shailendra Mehta to kindly close the session.
What an insightful session. I think he has given us so many points which can be food for thought for a long time to come. Let me just close by sharing an observation that Professor Naresh Malhotra shared with me, which was quite revealing. So he did a study. The university did a study of the young assistant professors who came in as new recruits who made tenure. The big difference they found was whether they wrote a paper with their advisor or not. This is a culture, by the way, VK and JAG and many others made it seem effortless, but it doesn't always happen, at least not in the way it should. And I think academics is an area where the lamp of learning is lit on a person-to-person basis, right? It has to be passed. There has been no other way. Since the first universities were created in India 2,500 years ago, that has been the common method. By the way, Europe never really had true universities until the 11th century. Prior to that, Greece only had academies. They were not universities. India invented the universities, and it's a pity that for over 1,000 years, that lamp of learning was lost. And it's now only in the last couple of 100 years that it has been rekindled. And it's only now that in terms of the audacity, we are beginning to find for ourselves the autonomy to ask questions of ourselves. Unfortunately, what has happened is that a lot of the agenda setting has been something that we have not entirely been in charge of. And the whole point of this exercise is to really learn from the masters, learn how we can basically do research as well as everybody else, but use that to focus on our own environment, on our own problems, on our own surroundings. And by the way, this country, this region, this area is just exploding with opportunities for research, for exploration, for application, and for sharing. So thank you, VK, for showing us how you did it against many odds, with grace, with humor, with selflessness, with positivity, with the ability to inspire, with the ability to give back. So for all of that and a lot more, we are very grateful. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Now we can disperse for a coffee break for half an hour, post which we have 20 minutes. Okay, 5:30, we have to assemble for 3 parallel tracks, which is happening in SH3, SH4, and CR1. The one happening in SH3 is the parallel track of consumer behavior. The one happening in SH4 is a parallel track for strategic marketing. And the one in CR1 is for analytics and marketing. So,
Do mention that SH1 and SH2 are near the dining place, and CR1 is right here.
CR1 is right here. SH1 and SH3 and SH4 are near the dining place. So, and we are all here to guide you, so you can just ask us as well. Thank you so much.